Today I'm going to walk you through the best funnel I've ever used in building 3 businesses to over $1 million a year. And it's the customer funnel. And it goes against a lot of what I was taught on how to get clients. So the typical funnel is you get a lead and then you turn them into a client. Simple enough. When I did it this way, I did get some results, but I experienced a bunch of volatility in the business. So I'm going to put 2 pictures here on the screen and you can see how much revenue would change from one month to the other. So in June, $159,000 in sales were great. And then in July, $46,000. So it's not little money by any means, but it is a difference of over $100,000 from month to month. And so when you have a lot of volatility in your business, it also gives you a lot of emotional volatility. And it is very hard to stay composed when those things happen. And I wanted a funnel that would get me to more of a stable, recurring revenue kind of up graph situation. And this was the customer funnel. And it's what I'll give you today. Now for you to understand, the typical model is getting people to go from leads to clients. But this tends to go against how a lot of people buy. It is very scary for somebody who has paid you nothing, zero, to pay you $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. It's a scary jump. It's like if you go and you see a pretty girl and she doesn't know anything about you, and right off rip, you just ask her to be your girlfriend. She might. You just went too soon. It was just too fast. It makes sense then to have something in between. Now, not to say this funnel can't make money, but it could make more. And why do people not change it? I believe it's because it gives you just enough to stay in the game, but not enough for you to make you want to quit. Because you get 1 client, 3 clients at $1K a month. And so you're making a lot more than the general population. And that reward masks the real inefficiency, which is you could be making a lot more if you probably asked the girl if she wanted to go on a date with you before you asked her to be your girlfriend. Statistically, you're probably gonna get a lot more yeses if you did it that way. And that extrapolates to audiences. A lot of people could go from just okay to great if they just added that middle step in between. And that is the step I call customers. So semantics matter here. We define a customer as somebody who pays you once. We define a client as somebody who's in a client agreement and they pay you on a recurring basis. Think of the value of having customers as something you think about in your funnel as kind of a gateway offer. To illustrate the value of this middle step of getting people to pay you some small amount before they pay you the bigger amount, as kind of how gateway drugs work. Big decisions tend to not start big. They tend to start smaller. So you don't just decide, I'm going to binge watch a show tonight. It starts with maybe just one more. Or for me, I had a knee injury. And so I took a gateway peptide to heal my knee. And now my counter looks like this. And I end up injecting myself with foreign substances that come from China. And I got my Chinese supplier and my friend. His name is Benny. One thing leads to the other. In this and in sales too. A lot of people don't just buy a car at the dealership. First they go for a test drive. And so then they buy the car. And so who's to say that that may not help your business and apply to your business? Everything I'm going to tell you today is designed with one goal in mind: to manipulate you into selling cheap things. Because if you sell cheap things, it's like the dealership getting more test drives and thus making more money. And that's why we're here, to make more money. And so this phenomenon that we've named as the gateway drug into something else, we're going to define it as prospect inertia. Prospect inertia is the more money somebody pays you, the more money they're likely to pay you. So if they paid you nothing, then it's very hard to get them to pay something more. But if they paid you something, they're already in motion. It's easier to move an object when it's already in motion than an object that isn't. So how much easier? And I actually ran the numbers on this. In my business, $100,000 a month coaching / consulting business, somebody who bought a cheap thing from me, less than $200, was not 10 times more likely to buy, not 20 times more likely to buy, but 56 times more likely to buy. For context, that's the difference between the little guy you see here and the whale. And every time there's a statistic like that of something being 56 times more than something else, then something's going on. And I analyzed that in my business and then I thought, something is going on. What is this? How can I get more of it? Because this is making a lot more clients and a lot more money than just getting people to book a call or to go from lead to client. That middle step, that customer step, is what was driving the business. It was not something good in the business. It was what's driving the business. It's a big deal, at least in my business. It was a big deal. And so I was convinced, and a lot of people are convinced, that they have a lead problem. And so for the purpose of this video, maybe you may not have a lead problem. You may have a lead conversion problem. And you lack that middle step between your free stuff and your really expensive stuff that will serve as, just one more episode, as the gateway peptide, and as the test drive in the dealership. Because most people, and this is just a reality of everybody, we like to try before we buy. Because buying right off rep is really risky. And as humans, we tend to shy away from risk. We want some sort of safety. By providing that middle step to somebody who is kind of interested to work with you, but not to drop $3,000 on you yet, that middle step serves as the safety mechanism so that they can tell you yes. I don't get many leads. In one calendar year, I measured it once, I got an extra 546 leads. And those having proper conversion and the customer funnel running as a base, that's what allowed me to go to $100,000 a month with 543 new leads. It's a big deal. And that's what I'm going to give you today. The entire customer funnel. My goal is that by the end of this video, you wake up thinking about 2 questions. Number 1, how can I create a customer for a cheap thing? Number 2, how can I only talk to them? Because if that is going to be 56 times more likely to net you a client, well then pay attention. It's going to work. Now, you're not going to get rich off the customer funnel sales. You're not going to get rich off selling $10 ebooks, for example, unless you have a massive audience and massive volume. However, it's going to allow you to find the people who will pay you the big amounts that will make you rich. And so you have to be strategic about it. You can't just think in one step. You have to think in 2. Not just how do I go for the kill right away, but how do I make them see what they're getting themselves into, because that's in your interest and in their interest. And so they will want to go on to the next thing. And by the way, these make a lot PTSD, a lot better clients. If you do not get enough leads or enough clients right now, well, this is designed to do that. So it's going to be in 4 steps. Number 1, creating your customer offer. Number 2, selling it. Number 3, delivering it. And number 4, upselling the people who bought it into your main expensive thing. Now, creating your customer offer. To get a good end result, let's work backwards from it. There's a paradox, and I'm going to put it on the screen, where your marketing is more persuasive when you market from your product than when you market to your product. People can feel where each comes from. So I'll give you an example. When you market something to a product, you would say something like, get this PDF that's gonna allow you to lose weight. I designed it for you, it's great, you're gonna love it. There's a difference between that, which is like, okay, whatever, and selling something like, this guide and this PDF allowed that guy to lose 20 pounds in 10 weeks. And so I gave it to my clients and the same pattern kept repeating. They kept losing weight. The first one is marketing to a product. You should go there. It's great. Take it. The second one is marketing from a product. This is what is going on in my world, in their world. You're invited to take part of it. It's felt in a better vibe, for lack of a better word. But you understand what I'm trying to say. When we know that somebody has tested it, somebody's already paying for that product, we don't take as much risk. And again, risk kills sales. If you can provide that level of safety by showing that this is what I'm doing anyway, or this is what I did in the past, well, then it feels safer. Therefore, you get more sales and therefore you get more clients. Because prospects aren't stupid. They go through mental processes, and when they see that whatever you're offering them was already tested by somebody else, they think, if this doesn't work, well, their clients leave. 2, somebody paid thousands of dollars for that stuff. 3, if he's getting paid for this already, then it probably is pretty good because they already took the risk and I don't have to take it. Now, this from frame makes it easier for you to choose what your customer offer should be, the first thing that you should sell for cheap, because you already have it. Find something that you used already. Templates, you have cheat sheets, you have PDFs, you have GPTs, you have swipe files, things you're already using. And so market that, or market from that, because then it'll feel like they already tested it. It works. Let me see what's working instead of pushing them towards it. And so after going through this process, you're going to find yourself with, you have something, a PDF. Think of something you could put in a Google Drive, right? There is something that you can give somebody that has created some sort of result. That is going to become your next best lead getter. Next up is packaging it, because packaging makes a big difference. Imagine somebody shows up on Christmas with, hey, I got you a bag of Pringles, some chocolates, and Merry Christmas. It's kind of lame. But what happens when they put the same stuff with some grapes on a basket and they wrap it as they put a ribbon on it? Well, now it's a Christmas basket. It's so nice. So packaging makes a big difference. We're gonna do this same stuff with, well, your stuff. We're gonna package it to make it look more persuasive, and so they'll want to buy it. We'll do this with 2 parts. First, we figure out what is it that we're selling exactly, and 2, we put a promise around it. So what is it that we're selling exactly? Let's say, what tool are we using? Name the stuff that you have. You would name things in a toolbox. You don't look at a toolbox and you think the metal thing and the metal with the red thing. You call it a screwdriver, a hammer, or wrench. And so the same thing needs to apply here. You have a cheat sheet. Don't just call it a cheat sheet. Call it something nice. Call it the 20 pounds less cheat sheet. You don't just have a template. You call it the 1 year swipe file. You don't just have a swipe file, you call it the 1 year swipe file. I collected this over a year of doing things. It makes it look nice. So we're gonna wrap a name and a tool around this. By the way, this is why I capitalize every single one of my tools with capital letters, because then it hints at it being a proper name, and proper names indicate that there's some thought behind it. So there's a quick hack for you. Capitalize whatever you're going to sell. Give it a name. So once you have your cool name, the second step is figuring out the promise, which is what is this actually going to do in their lives? Now, a lot of people find some friction here because they can't really promise things. And I understand, because if you're in fitness, it's not like you can lift for them. If you're in business, it's not like you can click the buttons for them. And a lot of people say, I don't want to promise this because I don't want to be unrealistic or I don't want to be a scammer. And I totally get it. And I understand. Whenever you're making an offer, here's a useful mental model for you to take. And I call it the deaf man test. So the deaf man test says, if you had to explain what this offer does to a deaf man and they couldn't hear you and you were forced to draw it, would you be able to? So I'll give you some examples of offers that don't pass the deaf man test. Skyrocket your lead flow, optimize your metabolism, supercharge your sales. How are you gonna draw that? It's really hard. And when offers are unclear, they die. A lot of the really good offers, they just are, I call them pretty autistic. They just have very specific numbers. They pass the deaf man test. So it's not supercharge your lead flow, it's get 10 more leads a week. It's not optimize your metabolism, it's lose 20 pounds by summer. And these matter because if you have some sort of value associated to what you offer and the prospect has a different value of that in their mind, they will typically choose the one that is the lower value out of the two. Because you tell them it's something, but they can't see it. They don't comprehend it. They don't know what supercharge means. And so they're gonna assign a certain value to it in their heads. And it is likely gonna be way lower than the one you have in your head, which is why matching these expectations with the deaf man test is so important. Because if not, people do not understand you. They don't know what they're buying. I have a story on this, and it's called the fist. So I'm going to put some images here on the screen. This is a client. He struggled with the deaf man test a lot, but once he fixed that, he started making a lot more money. So I told him, every time you ask for feedback on an offer that doesn't pass the deaf man test, I'm going to send you the fist. And so he would say, how to get to your email sales potential. And I send it to him. And then he said, when we work with XYZ, we use this calculator to estimate his opportunity and then put a plan in place. Can't draw that. You get the fist. And then he said, the calculator we use to find $200,000 a month in lost revenue. And voila, it's clear. We understand what this guy is selling. It's much better if you align your offers with the deaf man test than when you don't. So that's a useful mental model for you to take. We got a few more to go through. So now you have your tool, you know what you're selling, and you know what it's going to deliver. Now, how are we going to frame it? Framing an offer through the right frame allows you to still promise something that passes the deaf man test, but not in a scammy way. And I believe there's three. There's coaching, there's consulting, and there's mentorship. So let's define each because they are synonyms in a way. Coaching, in my world, is I'm going to show you how to find the answer within yourself. Consulting is this is the answer. Mentorship is I'm going to show you how I arrived to the answer. So if you go to the dealership and you want to buy a Mercedes, a coaching offer would be something like I'm going to show you which Mercedes to pick. A consulting offer would be pick the red one. A mentorship is I would pick actually the green one because that's the one I liked. So we're still pointing at the same Mercedes, right? Changing the frame allows one to understand and imply. However, changing the frame implies that there is also some sort of responsibility that you, the prospect, have to take. However, because you also point at the deaf man test result, both conditions are met. It's not scammy and you're promised something very tangible. We're in the good zone. Another example of this, let's say in fitness. Coaching is saying something like, I'm going to show you how you can lose 10 pounds. Consulting is saying you will lose 10 pounds. And mentorship is saying, I'm going to show you how I lost 10 pounds. And so we point at the result anyway, but the frame allows us to make it in a way that doesn't feel icky for you. You choose the frame that fits the offer the best. If you're uncomfortable with your offer right now, maybe you don't need to tweak the promise. You may just need to tweak the frame. Now to complete step 2, which is packaging your offer, you simply combine the tool and the name we gave it in the beginning and the promise, which passes the deaf man test and is on the right frame. So 3 examples. The customer funnel. The funnel that makes your leads 56 times more likely to buy. The 4-week lean out. Lose 10 pounds in 4 weeks with 1 cookbook and 1 workout plan. The hybrid athlete blueprint. How I lift 3 times a week and run 4 times a week and I've never got injured. So it's all on a different frame, but you're still promising something tangible. And if you're still stuck in this part of the video before we go on to part 3, which is selling your customer offer, think yourself a very simple question, which is, if I had to sell something for $100 that I know it would sell, what would it be? And that becomes your next customer offer. Number 3, selling it. For selling, there's a lot of things we can get into, but I think the most useful ones that I can leave you with are mental models, so you can think through things through a fundamental lens. I'm not big into tactics that only apply once. I'd rather teach you how to think and how to process things so that then you can arrive to some sort of you taste business, because then nobody can copy it from you. So 3 principles. Whenever you make an offer, the KPI I look at is offers made. Me, for example, there's this myth of you don't want to sell more than 1 email a day to not bother your customers. They join the list because they need help. Why would I not send them an email every day? So I send 1 email every day. Sometimes I send like 3. A few people have thanked me. Thank you for making this offer. I needed this. Thank you for sending this. I wanted to read that. They want some sort of help. That's why they joined the list. Why are you not sending them more help? 2, deadline everything. Limited offers sell more than unlimited offers. So I'm going to put a graph on the screen right now. And this is a Starbucks sales graph. You're going to notice that there's a peak near the same time in every year. Now that peak is about October, which is when the pumpkin spice latte comes out. And we all know how much these white girls love that stuff and how much money they spend on it. And by white girls, I mean me. Back to the point. It sells a lot because people know that it's not gonna be there forever. It goes in for a season and then it goes out for the entire year. Same thing happens with your offers. Every time I make an offer, it is wild how this pattern repeats every time. It looks like an eyebrow. Look. So it starts like in one level and then it bumps up. And every time it bumps up, it's on the final 2 days when something is closing. And so if people don't have consequences, they tend to not move. When you cap something and when you say this is not gonna be here forever, you actually get more sales, which is another reason, segue, that I don't believe in evergreen offers. Because if it's always going to be there, you know how people love stalling and they don't move until like a big reason happens? Well, the same thing happens with your offers. If you always have the same thing up, the same landing page, the same link tree that people can click, where's the urgency? Why would people do it now? Unless they have a massive life-changing event, they're probably not gonna do it. And so this is why I deadline every single offer that I make, because consequences, and this is not something that a lot of people agree with, but I do, consequences move people more than value. Now the sustainability question comes in. Well, if you're taking an offer down, well, how repeatedly can you do that? And there's 2 tricks you can do here. The first one being you can always bring it up later. Taking an offer down doesn't mean you can't put it up next month. That's how cohorts work. And 2 is, notice how we focused on getting something from a product, not to a product. And you already work, you already do client calls, you already do messages with them, you already do some sort of delivery. Well, you can extract it from those things that you already do. And this requires an eye for slowing down, for you to analyzing what is everything that I did, what are all the assets that I've used, checking all your Google Drive and figuring out this is worth selling, that is worth selling, like Tony Stark with Jarvis, right? Like this, you pull things and that's what you sell. Now this requires a certain skill level and a certain eye, but eventually you start getting good at it and you find out customer offers in everything that you do. And 3, this is key. Every time you sell customer offer, always offer something 10 times more expensive with it. If you look at commercial airlines, these guys figured out the game decades ago, but I Googled it. I actually Googled it. In most commercial flights, there's about 250 economy seats versus about 30 first class seats. And so you can find that this is making as much money, maybe less sometimes, than the actual business class. Why? Because 10% of people are probably going to pay you 10 times as much. Not having an offer that people can pay you that is 10 times more expensive than the original one is just plain irresponsible because somebody wants it. There's a whale that is gonna look at your thing and think, I like that, but I need help with it. Or I don't have time for that. I need some help. And they are going to pay you 10 times as much. Don't depend on them because, again, they're 10%, but they're going to appear just like somebody's willing to pay $5,000 for a first class seat. So what can you do? You can bundle a call. So if you sell a course, for example, you can bundle a call with you. You can bundle some sort of short arrangement to work with you for a specific period of time. You can offer more. So if you sell one module of your course, offer the rest as well. If you sell one workshop, sell all workshops. So always have those ways so people can pay you a lot more. Like people want to pay you more money. You just don't make it easy for them by not having that option. So have those first class tickets ready to go. And also this puts you in a position to get lucky. So if you see a pretty girl, right? And maybe she's way out of your league, which by the way, she's not king, you are out of her league. But you understand what I'm trying to say, right? Take your shot, right? If not, you don't have a chance to get lucky. In this situation, you do get lucky. And other people look at it like it's luck, but you and I, we know it's not. It's called the customer funnel. Step 3 out of 4, delivering your customer offer. I find that this is very energetic. The quality of the customer offer you're creating depends a lot of who you're creating it for. When you create for clients, you help clients and you help customers. But when you create for customers only, you help none. Because there's this energy of, I want you to upsell, I want you to buy the next thing, that is felt by everybody. It gives the customers a bad taste, 1, and 2, it gives the clients a worse taste because they're like, we paid for this? What's wrong with you? So when you create these customer offers, the way to think about it is, I'm creating this for clients and I'm only inviting people along. That is just received in a much better way because there's no tension. You're gonna do it for your guys anyway. Everybody else is just invited to the party. It is a much more pleasant experience for everybody involved. So create that for clients, not for customers. The format of delivery itself doesn't matter that much. It's the fact that they transacted that matters, but the format itself doesn't matter that much. My recommendation is sell whatever you're good at. If you're good at ebooks, do an ebook. If you're good at workshops and doing things live, do that. If you're good at writing Cashies or GPTs or chatbots, then do that. Whatever allows you to deliver at your best. A word of warning on this is you're gonna be tempted to put a lot into it. Not saying it's wrong, but what I'm gonna say is that volume ain't value. If you just put in a lot, let's say you do it live and you say it's a 1-hour workshop. If you go on for 3 hours, it might have a lot of value, but man, who's gonna listen to you for 3 hours? Just being real, right? I have to do a lot of retention stuff just to get people to watch this video, which is probably not gonna be more than 30 minutes, but you understand what I'm trying to say. If you put a lot of stuff, you deviate and you dilute the sauce. A little bit of water in coffee is good, but you put a lot into it and it's kind of nasty. So make sure it's just the right amount. Deliver one key behavior change that will serve them for the better, and you focus your customer offer around that. If you can do that in 1 page, that's gonna be more valuable than 100 pages ebook. And step 4, which is the main part and the whole point of having this funnel, is upselling people from customers to clients. So I'm gonna pull some graphs here again, and you can see how in my audience, 0.1% of people are workshop customers. It's a very small percentage. Now check out this graph. That 0.1% of people make up 80% of the income in the back end of people who have upsold. It's an enormous power law. A lot of the money is concentrated on very few people, and those are the ones you should focus on. That's why I told you in the beginning of this video that my goal is for you to ask yourself 2 questions when you wake up. How can I create a customer? And how can I only talk to customers? Because they are probably going to drive most of your business. And a beautiful thing here is that making offers to people who already bought an offer from you is not perceived as pushy. Because John asked Sarah out on a date, it's not unreasonable for John to ask Sarah to go for drinks after dinner and then to maybe other things. But because he made an offer in the beginning, it was natural to go on to the next thing. So if you made a workshop on how to create a funnel, it's natural and it's actually well received to make an offer of, if you don't have time or if you'd like my help, well, here's where to get it. It's not pushy at all. It's actually received well because there's a lot of people who will watch that. In my case, 15% of people that will want to say, yeah, you know what? I'm in. What else you got? Much higher than if you just offered that straight away because they were not familiar with your game and they needed to see you performing in order to move on to the next stage. And so we end off in more of a philosophical note of you gotta enjoy your business, and you can do things that are painful and still enjoy it, but things that are not enjoyable are when you push things, when you try to force things. Whenever you push, by definition, there needs to be something resisting. And so what I found is this funnel reduced a lot of resistance in my business because instead of trying to push people towards a product, I would create something for my clients and deliver it to them. And so the frame wasn't, you need to become a client. Then the frame was, I'm doing this for my clients. Would you like to take part of it? Hey, here's an invitation for something I'm going to do anyway. It's gonna happen with or without you. And so people are getting used to just getting pitched all the time. However, when you say this is gonna happen, I don't care if you buy because I'm getting paid for it anyway because these guys want it and it's gonna deliver to them, you will find that a lot more people will buy your stuff and a lot more people will want to become part of your world. And so we end off in a note of efficiency. If you're running run an efficient business, it's a good business. And so I like to think of what is the one domino that I can tip that'll tip the others. And I find that there is one, and it's a mental change that I had to do in order to scale to 100,000 a month, which is I don't create to get paid. I get paid to create. Because instead of creating offers all the time and trying to find people who will buy it and push people towards it, instead I focused on how can I create better stuff for my clients, which one led to better retention and two led to more people wanting to be a part of it. And every time I would host a workshop, I would make like $7,000, $8,000 of stuff that I had to do anyway. And so I got paid to create something good for them, and more people wanted to be a part of it. And so it creates this beautiful loop in which you don't push people anymore. You just create great results for people who are already in your world. You invite people along and the thing keeps turning, and it's a beautiful thing, which allows you to focus on, in my opinion, what is the most fun part of this job, which is creating cool stuff. And this funnel, not only it brings a lot of money, but it tends to bring a lot of joy and alignment to people who run it. Not to get too woo-woo, but if it gave that to me, well then I can give it to you for you to try. So hopefully this video accomplished the goal of brainwashing you into two questions. How do I create a customer, and how can I only talk to customers? So I hope you enjoyed this. If you go to the description, you can get the notes of this. I actually have this. This was originally a workshop, but you can get the notes and you can download them. You can have them for yourself if you want to read them or keep them somewhere. See ya.